Hello, this is Salvatore Vinciguerra. Welcome to Tuskegee, Alabama, where I'll be sharing with you the Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site. The name Tuskegee Airmen has become synonymous with victory. Victory in war abroad, victory against racism in America. They fought 2 wars and came off victorious in both. The Tuskegee Airmen challenged Americans' claim that all men are created equal, while she openly practiced gross racial prejudice. She treated her own sons as enemies and enemies as sons. The Tuskegee Airmen were a group of primarily African-American military pilots and airmen who fought in World War II. They formed the 332nd Fighter Group and the 477th Bombardment Group of the United States Army Air Forces. The name also applies to the navigators, bombardiers, mechanics, instructors, crew chiefs, nurses, cooks, and other support personnel. The Tuskegee Airmen received praise for their excellent combat record earned while protecting American bombers from enemy fighters. The Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site is just a stopover as I'm traveling from New Orleans, Louisiana to Cherokee, North Carolina. Yes, I'm stopping in Auburn, and Montgomery is close by as well. All of these great historic sites in Alabama, and this is just a stopover. This is just, you hop off the road, you hop off of I-85, you come down here, you visit this museum maybe for 2 to 3 hours, and then you jump back on the road and you keep traveling. It's just a wonderful little museum and definitely worth the price of admission. The Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site is open Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and I just happened to pass by on a day that it's open, and actually in maybe the last hour or so that the museum is open for the day, and those park rangers had to hold it open for me for just a few more minutes so that I could take pictures of those beautiful aircraft that you just saw in the hangars. Hangar 1 and Hangar 2 are open Monday through Saturday from the same time frame, and the site grounds are always open. There's trailing areas, roads, and park areas are open daily for public visitation from sunrise to sunset unless designated as a closure area. Posted closed due to an emergency or posted closed due to a construction or safety hazard. And yes, there are public restrooms available. When you enter the site, and I'm going to be sharing that with you in just a second, there are actually 2 places where you can park. You can park up here and then walk down, and I'll share my walk with you. And then there's actually a place where you can drive directly to the hangars and save yourself maybe a few steps. And I think it's all handicapped accessible. You can see that there's kind of a ramp as I'm going down the little mound that they have here. And it's a great place, even if you wanted to stop over and have lunch, a picnic up there where that other parking area is, and then walk down here, see the museum, spend the day. It's a really nice, enjoyable site, and there's plenty of fresh air all around, as you can see, and there's a storm brewing there. But this is just a wonderful museum, and you do have to pay to get into Hangar 1, I believe. And then Hangar 2, I think, is just open to the public. And it may just be dependent upon the park rangers that are there. There's also a gift store, so if you just want to pop in and walk to the gift store and that type of thing. But some of these buildings are not open, and just keep that in mind that they may be renovating them. They just may not be open to the public, and some of them are just the little outlines of structures to share with you what really the property looked like, or what was actually here at the time that the airmen were training and in service. Here's that other parking area that I was talking to you about, right in front of the hangars, and it's not too far away, and maybe you can park your car even closer to where that parking area is if you really need to. And just keep in mind, it is being used as an airport, so there are planes there, and on the day that maybe you come here, you may be able to see some planes land and take off, and that's kind of even more interesting. And I'd even like to see some of the more historic planes on the runway and have them take them out for a little bit of a ride to share with everybody what these planes actually looked like on the runways, and how they would actually train and so forth. If you work at the museum, or if you live in the Tuskegee area and you are aware of any festivities or anything that celebrates the museum throughout the year, where maybe they have some of those, planes on the runway, and maybe you get to meet some of the people that were here at the time that it was being used, to talk about it. I think that would be very interesting. And let's take a look inside of the main museum itself. So I'm actually impressed with how this museum is laid out. They have all of this historical information. They have some interactive videos with some of the Tuskegee Airmen, people talking about a variety of different topics. And then you have these planes hanging from the ceiling. You have some of the artifacts as to what they wore over there. And it's just, looking at this plane is extraordinary to me, whether it's real or not. And I think it really makes the museum pop when they do stuff like this. If you've ever visited the World War II Museum, just seeing some of the artifacts laid out like this, whether they were the real thing or not, gives the visitors perspective as to the time, the era, and what the Tuskegee Airmen had to do to become who they are in history. All black military pilots who trained in the United States trained at Greil Field, Kennedy Field, Motion Field, Shorter Field, and the Tuskegee Army Airfields. They were educated at the Tuskegee Institute, now Tuskegee University, located near Tuskegee, Alabama. Of the 922 pilots, 5 were Haitians from the Haitian Air Force, and 1 pilot was from Trinidad. It also included an airman born in the Dominican Republic and 1 born in Jamaica. Fun facts there. And I bet those are facts that maybe people don't know about the Tuskegee Airmen. The 99th Pursuit Squadron, later the 99th Fighter Squadron, was the first black flying squadron and the first to deploy overseas to North Africa in April of 1943, and later to Sicily and other parts of Italy during World War II. The 332nd Fighter Group, which originally included the 100th, 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons, was the first black flying group. It deployed to Italy in early 1944, although the 477th Bombardment Group trained with the North American B-25 Mitchell bombers. They never served in combat. In June 1944, the 332nd Fighter Group began flying heavy bomber escort missions, and in July 1944, with the addition of the 99th Fighter Squadron, it had 4 fighter squadrons. So as you can see, I'm trying to climb the control tower, and it is the only historic section of Hangar 2. And yes, this is a pretty steep climb, that's why I'm sharing it with you. Here are the windows of what you get to see at each of the different floors. There's a parachute in here. There isn't much in here. There is, underneath the stairwell, if you get tired climbing, a little chair, and you can stop there and rest, and then continue your way to the top floor and then back down again. I want to say that going back down was a lot easier than climbing all the way to the top of the tower, but I wanted to do this as maybe one of the first things that I did at the museum, and that way I could just rest in the other parts of the museum. And that's because this tower isn't air conditioned that much, if there is any air conditioning in this tower. And also they do have signs warning you about wasp nests. And don't get offended if you can't climb the stairs and you can't go up here. That's why I'm sharing it with you, because there may be some people that are looking for an elevator, and that just wasn't built during the time that this tower was built. And at the top of the tower, the operator had to use flags and a light gun to communicate with the instructors and cadets in primary training aircraft. In the 1940s, primary trainers were not equipped with radios. However, operators did use radios to talk to one another, visiting aircraft in the busy airspace over motion field. And, again, there's not much in this particular tower, but you get to see a different perspective of the airfield. You get to see the actual landing areas and takeoff areas, and imagine what this particular room would have looked like during the 1940s when they were training the airmen. The 99th Fighter Squadron was initially equipped with Curtiss P-40 Warhawk fighter bomber aircraft. The 332nd Fighter Group and its 100th, 301st, and 302nd Fighter Squadrons were equipped for initial combat missions with Bell P-39 Airacobras, later with Republic P-47 Thunderbolts, and finally with the aircraft with which they became most commonly associated, the North American P-51 Mustang. When the pilots of the 332nd Fighter Group painted the tails of the P-47s red, the nickname Red Tails was coined. The red markings that distinguished the Tuskegee Airmen included red bands on the noses of P-51s, as well as a red empennage. The P-51B, C, and D Mustangs flew with similar color schemes, with red propeller spinners, yellow wing bands, and all red tail surfaces. So when I went to the gift store to try to find a replica of the plane that I just described to you, they didn't have any, and it's actually a pretty hard thing to find if you can find one of the replicas of the planes. I'm talking about like a model toy or something like that. And, just keep that in mind, that the way in which these planes were painted makes the Tuskegee Airmen very unique. In my opinion, this museum is a great celebration of African Americans in aviation history, especially the Tuskegee Airmen and the legacy that they have left for others to be inspired by their work. Because of segregation, because of the Jim Crow laws of the United States, it really prevented African Americans from going out there and achieving what a white person could have done during the same time period. And just to give you some background information, before this group of men, there were no African Americans serving in the U.S. military as pilots. In 1917, African American men had tried to become aerial observers, but were rejected. African American Eugene Bullard served in the French Air Service during World War I because he was not allowed to serve in an American unit. Bullard returned to infantry duty with the French. The racially motivated rejections of World War I, African American recruits sparked more than 2 decades of advocacy by African Americans who wished to enlist and train as military aviators. Civil rights leaders of the NAACP, labor union leaders, all came together, and finally the War Department managed to put the money into funds of civilian flight schools that were willing to train Black Americans. This is inside of the other hangar that they have open for the public, and you're greeted by 2 of the National Park Service people They go through a very small orientation of what's inside of this hangar and what it would have been like to train at this facility. And as you can see, there are pictures, old pictures of the construction. And then when you get inside, these are the planes that the Tuskegee Airmen would have trained on. And it is quite interesting to know, and you do need to know the difference between the trainer planes, and then when you were in the museum, you got to see a replica, or I don't know if even that's an original, of the actual fighting bird that they would have flown during World War II. There is an upper deck section, and there are many different stations that you can explore inside of the hangar. The hangars are not that much air conditioned, if any, and just keep that in mind. But do take your time. I was a little bit rushed as they were closing and the national park people had to leave. But I am very appreciatory of them allowing me at least to come in here and look at these beautiful planes. There is a story about First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt coming to Tuskegee when the flight program was only 5 months old, trying to help it out. And she actually did step into one of these planes and had a little flight with one of the instructors named Anderson. She had about a half-hour flight on one of these Piper J3 Cubs, and after her landing she cheerfully announced, "Well, you can fly all right." The subsequent brouhaha over the First Lady's flight had such an impact, it is often mistakenly cited in many of the historical records, even though the program was only 5 months old. Eleanor Roosevelt used her position as trustees of the Julius Rosenwald Fund to arrange a loan of $175,000 to help finance the building of Motion Field. I had a wonderful time visiting the Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site here in Tuskegee, Alabama, and I hope that you also have the opportunity to see the legacy of these wonderful airmen and the path that they paved and inspiration that they have for so many throughout the United States and around the world. Again, my name is Salvatore Vinciguerra, and I want to thank you for watching this video on the Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Site. Please check out my main channel page where you can find more videos on travel and music. If you like this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and have an amazing day.
Replaceable, together unstoppable, and I feel frequency, feel your love around me. I'm drowning in my mind, don't wanna let you down. We're running round in circles, our love feels so invincible. Feel you and there's no one around. Your beauty's so amazing, I will always hold you down. Your heart will be kept safe and sound. But I don't wanna love you when I'm faded. You're the picture perfect, you're on my mind. Painted. And I don't wanna lose what we've got tonight, baby, 'cause your love's like a dynamite. I don't wanna love you when I'm faded. I can feel your heartbeat to save it, 'cause your love's underrated.